To calculate the surface integral of a scalar field, we're going to look at two different cases that depend on how that scalar field is represented. If our region S is given parametrically, where S is either given by a vector function or parametric equations, we'll use this formula to calculate that line integral. But if that S is given to us rectangularly, then we'll use this formula to calculate that surface integral. In order to think about what a surface integral gives us, let's look at this portion here. And notice that we have some 4D function that is part of the integrand. One possibility for this 4D function could be that it is a density function, perhaps the mass density of some flowing sheet. If this were an infinitely small section of the sheet, the total mass of this sheet would be the mass density times its surface area. So one possibility for this surface integral is that this is a varying mass density function multiplied by a really tiny surface area, and then when we add up infinitely many of these, we get the total mass. The difference between these two cases is the way that we calculate this surface area. If that sheet surface was given parametrically, we're basically going to plug those parametric equations into the density function in order to get everything in terms of u and v, and then multiply by the formula for surface area for parametric surfaces. In case 2, we'd be looking at our sheet surface given as a standard rectangular equation. If that's the case, in order to get the surface area, we would use the older version of our formula to calculate surface area. But we would still leave this mass density function in terms of x and y. The example that we're going to look at is the case 1 scenario when our surface function is given parametrically. So our surface S is given by these parametric equations, but I'm going to go ahead and turn those into a vector function where the x component is u plus v, the y component is u minus v, and the z component is 1 plus 2u plus v. And in order to calculate this surface integral, we're going to be using the parametric version of that formula. Now we already have the parametric equations that make up that surface, but we do need to find the first partials with respect to u, first partial with respect to v, find the cross product of those two first partials, and then that magnitude to create this integrand and then integrate. So it's not a short process. Let's begin with the first partial with respect to u. The partial with respect to u of the first component is just 1. The partial with respect to u of the second component is also 1, and the partial with respect to u of the third component is going to be 2. Now we get the partial with respect to v of the first component, which is again 1. The partial with respect to v of the second component is now negative 1, and then the partial with respect to v of the third component is going to be positive 1. Next we need to find this cross product. And so we get I times 1 minus negative 2, which is plus 2, so we get 3, minus j times 1 minus 2, which is negative 1, plus k times negative 1 minus 1, which is negative 2. So let's clean up our cross product vector to be 3, 1, and negative 2. And now to build our integrand, we need to find the magnitude of that vector. So the magnitude of our u cross rv is rad 14. So the original surface integral was x plus y plus z ds, and we're using the formula where we're going to plug the parametric equations for x, y, and z into the previous integrand, again with the intention of converting everything into u and v. And then that gets multiplied by the magnitude of this cross product, which we just found to be rad 14. And until we decide on our order of integration, we'll just say dA here. From the beginning, we had our parametric equations where x was equal to u plus v, y was equal to u minus v, and z was 1 plus 2u plus v. And let's also bring down our limits on u and v. So we're continuing to build our integrand. And our next step is going to be to plug these parametric equations into the x, into the y, and into the z values of that 4D function, so that the integrand then becomes u plus v, which is x, plus y, which is u minus v, plus z, which is 1 plus 2u plus v. All of this will be multiplied by the rad 14, And since the region D that we're integrating over is rectangular, we can integrate with respect to u first or with respect to v first. It doesn't matter. I'll choose u here, and we'll go from 0 to 2 in the direction of u and from 0 to 1 in the direction of v. Let's pull the rad 14 to the outside of this double integral and simplify the integrand. We've got 4u plus 1v plus 1 du dv. And let's begin with that first iteration, where we're looking at the integral from 0 to 2 of 4u plus v plus 1 with respect to u. This antiderivative with respect to u is going to be 4u squared over 2 plus u times v plus u, evaluated from 0 to 2, and these are u limits. So we really need only to plug in the upper limit here. And when we plug in our upper limit of 2, we're going to get 2 plugged in for each of the u's. Plugging in the lower limit of 0 is just going to be subtracting 0 at the end. And this all simplifies down to being 10 plus 2v, which then becomes the integrand for the second iteration, integrating from 0 to 1 with respect to v. Let's not forget we had that rad 14 on the outside, so let's carry that down with us. So we have radical 14 multiplied by the antiderivative, which is 10 times v plus 2v squared over 2, evaluated from 0 to 1. We plug the upper limit of 1 into the antiderivative and then plug in 0 into the antiderivative, which gives us 0. And this simplifies down to our final answer of 11 times the rad 14.